gentlemen, as we start off tonight's program, Attorney General John Jeremy have stated that this government will not surrender to criminal gangs. In a statement this morning, hours after a state of emergency was declared in Trinidad and Tobago, he reminded the public that when the last SOE ended in January 31st, the PM had expressed her resolve to monitor the activities of criminal gangs and to act in the best interest of the citizens to curb lawlessness. The AG stressed that the government will not allow a return of previous levels of violence to take a zero-tolerance approach to gang-related crimes. Listen to this, Trinidad and Tobago.
Last night, upon learning of threatened further violent actions and planned reprisal killings by gang members, the Prime Minister triggered the provisions of the Constitution and asked Her Excellency the President to declare a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago. The proclamation was signed by Her Excellency and a state of emergency came into effect at 12:01 this morning. This government has demonstrated a clear, decisive, zero-tolerance approach to gang-related crime.
So Trinidad and Tobago, we welcome back the SOE in our country. So now, today I ask myself, how many SOE did we have in Trinidad and Tobago for the last 2 years? How many? SOE back to back from PNM days to UNC in power now. How many? What about the crime situation? How many have been charged under the last SOE? How many of them have cases going on presently? How many of them want to take lawyer to sue the state? How many of them have been freed? How many? Detailing the event leading to the SOE declaration today, the AG said, the National Security Council met last night after receiving a briefing from the Commissioner of Police on a number of violent criminal activities. Listen.
The National Security Council met and was given a briefing by the Commissioner of Police last night. The Council was advised that over the last several days, a number of violent criminal activities have taken place in the full gaze of a horrified population, I might add, most of which have been carried out by members of organized criminal gangs. We were further advised that criminal gangs had increased acts of violence on a scale so extensive that they have resulted in multiple deaths, in mass shootings, and that pattern of behavior was set to continue.
So now Trinidad and Tobago, everything now is about the criminal gangs. Now, listen this. For the last 9 years, PNM governed Trinidad and Tobago. Attorney General come, Attorney General go, Attorney General come again. The police officers in Trinidad and Tobago, the army in Trinidad and Tobago, Ministry of National Security come and go. Every single individual that stood in a high position knows exactly where the gang members are, the gang leaders are. They know their name, they know them by nature, they know what they do, they know which community they live in. But today, But today, we still have gang members roaming the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. We still have gang leaders roaming the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. We still have gangs roaming the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. When UNC was in power, 2010 to 2015, they know all the gang members, how many people in a gang, how many gang in Trinidad, what they do, what they don't do, the color of their house, how much fridge they have inside the house. They had all that information. From 2010 to 2015 to 2026, the very same gangs exist still. Still. So when I keep hearing, because of gangs and gangs and gangs and gangs, we live in a 2x2 country with 1.4 million people. Prime Minister come and Prime Minister go. Attorney General come and Attorney General go. Commissioner of Police come and Commissioner of Police go. And everybody know where the gang living. They know where the gang member living. They know what the gang doing. And in 2026 now, we're still talking about gangs. And we live in a population with 1.4 million people. When you leave Chagaramas, you might take about 2 hours. About 2 hours, 2 hours and a half to reach Guaya. But we're talking about gangs and gangs and gangs. And in the parliament is gangs. On the streets is gangs. In the police station is gangs. And gangs, but we see any gang leader get hold? We see any gang members get hold? How much gangs are before the court under the anti-gang regulation and the act that exists in Trinidad and Tobago? How many? How many? From 2010 to 2015, UNC's power was in power. They all knew all the gangs. They all know where the gangs live in. They all know the color of the gang member's house and the gang leader house. But in 2026, well, let's still come in to tell Trinidad and Tobago about the gangs. Now, the AG, he added that the government had no other choice but to advise the president to declare a state of emergency citing escalation in gang violence, mass shooting, and credible threat to the public safety. Trying to make you listen to this.
Security Council had no choice. We immediately determined to advise Her Excellency, as I have said, that a state of public emergency existed in Trinidad and Tobago. This government is determined to never allow this country to deteriorate into the state of chaos and bloodshed which we met in May of 2025 when we took office. We shall never accept the slow, dangerous surrender to the criminal gangs in our midst. There are examples in the region of territories that have allowed that. Trinidad and Tobago's fate will be different.
So viewers, powers were given. Listen to this, The AG further added that under the conditions of the SOE, the TTPS and the armed forces will continue their work together. Listen to this one more time.
The Prime Minister and the National, from the very early hours of this morning, strategic operations have commenced by the protective services. These will continue in an intelligence-led, targeted, and deliberate manner until these threats to public safety are eliminated. We take this initial approach while concurrently putting various other measures in place that would constitute a longer-term, sustainable approach to maintaining order, peace, and safety in our society.
Trinidad and Tobago, I am sure you all today are sick and tired of always hearing gangs and gangs and gangs. Roger Alexander was a police. He is no longer a police. He's the Minister for Homeland Security in Trinidad and Tobago. He was a police officer straight up until superintendent level. Superintendent level. Gangs still exist in Trinidad. From 2010 to 2026, we're still talking about gangs. In a 2x2 country with 1.5 million people. 1.5 million, 4 million people. When you leave Shagaramas, in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you're reaching Galeota. But we're talking about gangs still. We're still talking about gangs among 1.4 million people. Power were given to police officers in uniform doing bandit work. Why am I saying that? Said how you could say a thing like that? A few days ago, 2 bricks of marijuana was stolen from inside the Shogunas police station locker room, evidence room, inside that room. We, not me, the government of Trinidad and Tobago presently gave those officers power to enter inside people's house without warrant. That is the kind of power they have. Bandits. Police officers who stole the 2 blocks of marijuana inside the evidence room, inside the police station in Shogunas. You know what they received this morning? More power. More power. Again, they say the Brent Thomas file. Wayne Stewart said the file missing, Roger Alexander said the file is missing. So power now were given to who again? Let me tell you something. I am sure the citizens of this country are tired. It's gang. We live in a 2x2 country, 1.4 million people. Intelligence to the top in Trinidad and Tobago. We still have gangs. Anti-gang legislation passed in Trinidad and Tobago. We still have gangs. But these men standing up on a platform to tell the citizens now is gangs. Roger Alexander was a police straight up until superintendent. Know where the gangs are. Know how much member in our gangs. Know the kind of gangs that have in Trinidad and Tobago. He was a superintendent, resigned, now a minister of Homeland Security. What did they do about gangs? Come Trinidad and Tobago, what did they do about gangs? But you know what? This morning we wake up to our SOE. What was the information that later they briefing? Gangs again. Gangs again. When are they going to dismantle gangs? When? I'm asking you, when are we going to stop using the term gangs and gangs and gangs? Everybody in high office, everybody in ministerial position know exactly where the gangs are, know how much people in the gangs, know where they're living. But this morning it's gangs again. SOE again. I will tell you how to suspend all rights in later on in the show. I'm going to tell you something. I am sick of it. Sick. 1.4 million people in Trinidad and Tobago, and we're sick of it. The last SOE ended in the 31st of January. We come back in February now to say about gangs. All to suspend the human being, law-abiding citizens now rights. You can come in my house, dress up. Use a police, use a bandit, and you have the power to come in my house, dress up. So who have the right? The bandits. I'm going to tell you something. Police. It's bandits now. And because you have a police uniform, you are given authority to come in my house. Really? Really? Who fixing that now? So I want to ask the UNC administration, who fixing that now? You know, nobody can answer. Roger Alexander can't answer that. Wayne Sturge can't answer that. The Attorney General cannot answer that. But they have the power to come in our house without a warrant. It stinks and it's sad. But you know what? We, the law-abiding citizens, right, suspended, while the police who are doing bandit work were given power to abuse us now, the law-abiding citizens. But you know what I want to talk about? Gangs. What did Alexander do when he was a superintendent? For Trinidad and Tobago police force combating gangs. Well, let's say something. Say something. It's stinking sad. In 2026, today, they want to talk about gangs still in a 2x2 country. They have all the intelligence. Attorney come, attorney go. Minister come, minister go. Party come, party go. We still talking about gangs. Among 1.4 million people. But Saieed, you mustn't say nothing. Saieed, they're going to suspend your right. Saieed, they go come after you. For me telling Trinidad and Tobago the correct thing. The correct thing. So viewers, we are going for a short commercial break. We have a call a good night.
Good night, Mr. Saieed, man. You couldn't explain this more better to the citizens of this country than what you are doing. And the same way you are angry, all right-thinking citizens in this country and law-abiding citizens are more angry than you about this SOE, because we must never forget, and right-thinking people know there was the vehicle traffic laws that came into effect yesterday. So crime fighting plan in this country, crime fighting, is about issuing tickets to the citizens of the country. So this is what we're going to see again. It's not about gang, you know. And tell us, for over 1 year, there was an SOE. We had almost 400 murders. So how it didn't help? How it didn't help? Almost 400 murders we had, you know. And when you hear fellas like Naked saying, because of the ZOSO and the SOE, they could have prevented the murder and the gentleman that died, you know, when his two children was playing football in the back. When you hear these idiots talk those things, you say, well, boy, these fellas know where crime going to take place. So if all is so good, all you know where crime going to take place, well, stop it now. But this SOE is any law you're bringing to fight crime in this country, and the citizens, you ignore your citizens and reject your citizens and treat your citizens as nobody, you will never succeed. The citizen must be put on the front burner and partner with the citizens. And as you rightly say, nobody is saying yet how they're cleaning up the police service from the gangs in the police service. And I want it, and as the citizens know, the most notorious gang in this country goes to that red building in Port Smith called the Parliament.
Thank you, my friend. So Trinidad and Tobago, the President, Christine Kangulu, have stated that she is satisfied that a public emergency has arisen that would endanger, listen carefully now, a public emergency has arisen that would endanger the public safety and has issued the requisite legal notice for another state of emergency. Imagine that, eh? Another state of emergency. And the President of Trinidad and Tobago, she okayed it. She saw it fit to okay it. All right, good. This, after the SOE was declared at 3:50 a.m. today, by Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa. The previous SOE announced by her government in July 2025 had ended in January 31st, 2026. Details on how the new SOE were given during a government media briefing held by Attorney General John Jeremy this morning, after the NSC was informed that threats to attack police officers, prison officers, and other members of the security and legal service. Trinidad and Tobago, let me tell you something. We're not easy, you know. But then again, we're going again. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles is calling on Prime Minister to address her absence during this morning's State of Emergency conference with the Attorney General and other government officials. Beckles was speaking during a press briefing on Tuesday. Listen to this.
So we continue to have a missing Prime Minister from these press conferences. And I call on the Prime Minister again to make herself available to take questions from the media as it relates to this very important matter of the state of emergency.
So now, viewers, Beckles further went on to quote the PM during her time as opposition leader when the then Prime Minister Keith Rowley had declared a state of emergency. Listen to this.
The SOE's lack of seriousness is evident as Rowley did not find it important to attend the press conference to address citizens, but chose to play golf and enjoy the 50 million taxpayers' dollars for fetting and rum drinking. That was her response. Is he afraid of the very criminals that have caused so much death and destruction in our country? The Prime Minister could not find the courage to address the nation.
So Trinidad and Tobago, Penelope Beckles was reminding us, or is reminding us on our briefing this morning, what Kamala Persad-Bissell has said when an SOE was called under Dr. Keith Rowley administration. But where was she this morning? They say do so and like so. Do so and like so. Boom shot SOE call this morning. She's not there. She's not there. So just how I highlighted the PNM back when they call a state of emergency, just so I am highlighting the UNC administration in government when they are in power now, calling a state of emergency. Now Trinidad and Tobago, the opposition leader questioned how many persons were arrested under the recent conducted SOE, drawing reference from the UNC in 2011 SOE. She said over 8,000 persons were arrested. Listen to this.
Following their arrest, there was a conviction rate of less than 10%. Over 8,000 persons. And the recently concluded SOE, when we get the figures, it is no different. And here again, there is another SOE.
So viewers, as many citizens woke up to news of another state of emergency announced on Tuesday morning, the opposition is taking heavy aim at the government. Beckles said, despite recent boasts from the government on crime reduction in the country, they have once again moved to impose another SOE. She was speaking during a press conference earlier today.
So you have January, that the reduction has nothing to do with the SOE, it has to do with the police. Then you have the Prime Minister going to CARICOM and indicating you have a reduction by 42%. And the last comment I will make at this time, because I'll be here again, is that the radar that was set up in Tobago, they gave us a clear indication that this radar is going to result in a reduction of crime.
Now, Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to keep in mind, I believe the PM said by March month, I believe that the radar will be gone. She said that the US is spending $3 million. US per day. So I'm asking myself, when the radar exits Trinidad and Tobago in March month, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? Caller, good night.
Good night, Saieed. I don't know if you could throw some clarity on this issue. Now, everybody bawling about crime. Everybody have a problem with crime. The government say, all right, you have a problem, and the government is hell-bent on solving this problem. Now, they bring this SOE on like a previous SOE by a previous government. Our Prime Minister, they said, was drunk, have a glass in his hand, and call a state of emergency. This government is approaching soberly. Now, when they bring the ZOSO bill, which is a milder form of a SOE because that is based on a specific, location, like a community, flush the criminals. The opposition go against it. Then they had the audacity. I hear Keith Scotland talking in Parliament. Tell me, what is your crime plan? When they come in the crime plan now, the PNM is shutting it down, and the PNM independent senators also is shutting it down. So the government has no recourse to do a SOE which is a little more high-handed. So, if they do, damn if you do and damn if you don't. And secondly, sir, you know what would solve this problem? It is because of our economic situation. And we see this Kamala Prasad government is hell-bent in starting back that refinery. When you restart that refinery, sir, there's more foreign exchange is going to come.
Correct.
More people is going to get employed, so you would have less crime. And I am hoping and praying that this Kamala Prasad business stays for 15 years, and if, through God's grace, she could, start back a small sugar industry. Look at the price on the international market for sugar. And all these people displaced. Start back that sugar industry. Now look at the support that the U.S. is pledging for us to restart that refinery. Would Venezuela support us to start it? Would Cuba? You have people like David Abdul and all them who in all the elections they contest. I don't think if they put all the votes, they can pull a raffle sheet. So why the opposition? They're calling for clarity, they're calling for democracy. Who was more dictatorial than the PNM, that Rowley government? When a man could go to the president's house and withdraw a police commissioner, when everything they have non-disclosure. Where was Amory Brown? Where was Penelope? And them talking about shameless? I can't understand this, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my friend. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, like I always say, for the last 9 years I've been around, we highlighted the issues, we highlighted the don'ts, the do's and the don'ts. We ask questions to get answers, to bring to you the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Because I'll tell you something, not much media and television show in Trinidad and Tobago brings it to you like real talk. You see, my work, my job is to question the government and what they bring out. The do's and the don'ts in it. The policies, the activities of the ministries, how they are working. How is the community responding? What is the state of the community? Is the office that is responsible for the community, are they working with the community? That is my thing. That is my job. That is why I decided about 9 years ago to launch this program. So that the community would get results from those that represent the community. And thus far, for the last 9 years, we have become the #1 current affairs program. On Wednesdays, we highlight public concerns, the roads, the water, the councillors, the community, the cries. And for the last 9 years, we have gotten legislations and amendment passed right here. We're pushing it. I did it for the last 9 years. And we'll do it for the next 10 years. There are no other program in this country that highlight the issues the way I do it on my show. You know what threat I just received? But I always tell them, if you think you could threaten me, or if you think you could walk over me, I want you to understand and know the type of individual I am. I will light a light. I've been blessed to light lights. Ask Navin, go tell you. I've been blessed. You see, I am not ashamed of who I am. And I cannot be ashamed of who I am. I was blessed to do spiritual work, and I will continue doing it on God's side until God decides, you know what, side, your time reach. Your life must leave this world. I am not ashamed of saying who I am. Kamla Prasad Bisasa is not ashamed of saying who she is. And I am not ashamed of saying who I am. Now, we're moving on with our show tonight. At a separate press conference today, the Attorney General said the SOE came after they received intelligence about planned violent reprisal by gang members, threat to police officers, prison officers, and members of the security and legal service. Beckles questioned what went wrong with the last SOE. Listen to this.
Just a month ago, everything was fine. Reduction in crime, things under control. You have put in place all sorts of measures using technology, and you're saying to the public, not the SOE, we now have everything in place. And just literally days later, after the Prime Minister made her statement in CARICOM, we now have a totally different story.
Now, viewers, Beckles also stated that this government is dismantling freedom from freedom of expression and enacting policies that echo dictatorship and abuse of power. She is referring to the regulation that grants unchecked authority, all under the guise of public safety. Listen to this.
This government is all about dictatorship. This government is all about abuse of power. And this government is all about ensuring that freedom of expression no longer exists in Trinidad and Tobago. No person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety, do any act or have any article in his possession with a view to making or facilitating the making of any such endeavor. And we're talking about gang activity, but you see what is in these regulations? And then they go on to say, notwithstanding any rule of law to the contrary, a police officer may, without a warrant, and with or without assistance, and with the use of force, if necessary, enter and search any premises, or stop and search any vehicle or individual, whether in a public place or not.
It's in the chat that she put up. So Trinidad and Tobago, what she's referring to, I'm trying to get my team to pull it up, so you all will see it on the screen, but I'm going to continue. When my staff put it up on the screen, I will run back the Penelope Beckles video clips so you would understand what I'm talking about. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, questions are being raised about whether proper authorization was granted for police officers to travel in the October 2022 to retrieve businessman Brent Thomas from Barbados. Former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith now says such an operation could not lawfully take place without proper approval, as debate intensifies over the circumstances surrounding Thomas' return to Trinidad and Tobago. Celine Bansilal story. Trinidad and Tobago, listen to this.
A commissioner of police has no authorization to order police officers to leave Trinidad and Tobago without approval from the Ministry of Homeland Security. The statement comes from former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith during an interview on Monday relating to the kidnapping of businessman and firearms dealer Brent Thomas.
It is mandatory that at any time, any police officer that has to leave our territorial waters, whether it be an exercise, an operation, training, to take part in a sporting event, to take part in an arrest, they must get the requisite approval from the Minister of National Security at the time or the Minister of Homeland Security now, because the Commissioner of Police does not have authorization for any police officer to leave our territorial waters to take part in anything without the approval of the Minister of National Security.
Now, Griffith's statements echoed that of Senator Arnold Roberts. Roberts, while speaking on his social media platform Doubles and Coffee on Monday, said that proper legal extradition procedures were not followed for Brent Thomas while he was in Barbados in 2022. This comes after the senator yesterday obtained a signed affidavit by former Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob. Statements on the affidavit was signed on July 18, 2025, outlining a timeline of events leading up to Thomas's return to Trinidad and Tobago. Now, in the statement dated October 5, 2022, Jacob stated that himself, Senior Superintendent Suzette Martin, and 2 other officers had left the country for the sole purpose of retrieving Brent Thomas, who was under investigation for an internal firearm audit at the time and who was reportedly planning to flee the country and evade police surveillance. Now, head of the Transnational Organized Crime Unit, George Laldeo, advised McDonald Jacob that Thomas was already in Barbados and had volunteered to return to TNT, thereby mitigating the need for a formal extradition process. Arrangements were reportedly made to facilitate his return via a CARICOM aircraft.
Brent Thomas, in this, who was so-called supposed to be fleeing, Suzette Martin said, fleeing the jurisdiction. He had evaded surveillance. He was gone, and she wanted to go and get him, but the next one, they were saying, well, I in contact with him. He said, well, if all you want to come back, I come back and talk to you. And they went on a plane, CARICOM Impact Jet, but all the permission had to come from then Ministry of National Security, the Minister of National Security, the PNM. So understand, all the lies are now unraveling. This is a signed, sworn affidavit statement filed in the court of former Commissioner of Police, McDonald Jacob.
On Monday, Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander said there is no missing files or any files for that matter relating to Brent Thomas at the ministry. He outlined that such files lies under the DPP. Now, despite this, Gary Griffith said there must have been paper trail between the then labeled National Security Ministry and then Police Commissioner.
Based on all of the total nonsense that has taken place, inclusive of political interference, we never know if it is that there was a government official or someone who made a request by the police at the time to have the files or copies of the files submitted to the Ministry of National Security. So even though the Minister of Homeland Security is correct, we honestly do not know if it is that someone deliberately tried to bring it to that ministry and then somehow it just suddenly disappeared.
A commission of inquiry is yet to be decided upon by Cabinet for further investigation into the missing files of Brent Thomas. Celine Bansilal, Real Talk Studios.
So Trinidad and Tobago, we want to thank Celine for that story. Well put together. Well put together. Congratulations. And the director also. So Trinidad and Tobago, I just want to go back to the opposition leader, Penelope Beckles, concerning the dismantling of freedom of expression and enacting policies that echoes dictatorship and abuse of power, which she's referring to. Now, Penelope Beckles one more time, and then I will show you the clip of the article.
This government is all about dictatorship. This government is all about abuse of power. And this government is all about ensuring that freedom of expression no longer exists in Trinidad and Tobago. No person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety. do any act or have any article in his possession with a view to making or facilitating the making of any such endeavor. And we're talking about gang activity, but you see what is in these regulations? And then they go on to say, notwithstanding any rule of law to the contrary, a police officer may, without a warrant, and with or without assistance, and with the use of force, if necessary, enter and search any premises, or stop and search any vehicle or individual, whether in a public place or not.
Tobago. This is the article, all right. That is the article that Penelope Beckles is talking about. Call a good night. So while you all read that article, that, let me try and Tobago, that is in law from this morning, under the SOE. So read it carefully. Call a good night.
Good night, sir. How are you going?
Go right ahead.
Hear me. So I just want to wish you goodbye, because under that section 11, Mr. Saieed, your program is now outlawed, because whether you like it or not, whether you do so deliberately or not, you have an impact on public opinion, whether it is adverse or positive. So you and Ian Allen going to be selling Chenet from tomorrow.
Chenet?
How you like that? When the UNC win, everybody win. You know that is Mr. Allen, Mr. Saieed. As of today, they all say, oh, if it's a law-abiding citizen, you're not to worry about. You have every single thing to worry about, because this is aimed at you. Criminal that's go on the radio and say anything. Criminal that's calling to your program.
Thank you, my friend.
No, listen, one more thing.
Thank you, my friend. So Trinidad and Tobago, I want to let you understand this. Your freedom to protest quietly on the streets, a peace protest, has now been what? Suspended. Be careful what you share on social media. You could be fined. You could be charged up to $100,000 or $150,000. That has been included in this SOE. So I'm asking again, I am asking the Attorney General, who's a prominent lawyer also, I am asking Kamala Prasad-Bisasa, who also is and was a lawyer, are you suspending the rights of freedom to talk, of freedom of speech, of freedom to demonstrate a peaceful march under this SOE 2026 that became active in Trinidad and Tobago 3:50 on Tuesday, the 3rd of March 2026? Are you preventing me from educating the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago on a different level? Because that is what you would call abuse of power. So let me show you a demonstration. Shoguana's police station. That is in my hometown, so I will use it. I am a couple buildings away from Shoguana's police station. So listen to this. We have police officers. They are law enforcement. They have been chosen by TGPS to be lawful Trinidad and Tobago police service officers to protect and serve the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. But you know what we get out of it? Some police in Shoguana station went into the evidence room and stole 2 blocks of marijuana. So there are police officers, legal police officers on one side who getting paid through TTPS. And then when you flip the script now, but wait now, them is bandits. But they have rights. They have rights to come in my property now and do me what I want. Is that right? So I'm asking the Attorney General, is that right? So I am asking Kamala Prasad-Bisasa, are you all suspending my rights of freedom on television? This is what I am asking government tonight now that introduced the SOE at 3:50 this morning Tuesday, the 3rd of March, 2026. So John Jeremy, will you kindly keep another press briefing together with Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, together with Wayne Sturge, together with Roger Alexander, and clarify that? Let me say it like this. For the uneducated citizen in Trinidad and Tobago, especially me, Saieed Ali. Put back up, 11. No, I want to know. I want to know because I bring things on national television totally different. Put back up the article. Read it carefully. Whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a matter likely to be prejudiced or prejudicial to public safety, or do an act or have any article in his possession with a view to make or facilitate the making of any such endeavor, notwithstanding any rules of the law of the country. A police officer may without a warrant and without assistance and without use of forced entry, if necessary, enter and search any premises or stop and search any vessel in public or not. So the Attorney General now, come back to me here. So the Attorney General in Trinidad and Tobago, they drafted this. The Attorney General is a prominent man in this country. Roger Alexander, Minister of Homeland Security, from Superintendent of Police, resigned, become a Minister of Homeland Security in Trinidad and Tobago. A law enforcement officer is now the Minister of Homeland Security. Now he has gotten a little more weight on his shoulder. So I would like now the Law Association, together with these individuals, the Attorney General, Wayne Sturge, Roger Alexander, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, together with the Law Association, keep a press briefing and clarify this to the educated and the uneducated citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. This is what I want. Because if you are telling me, I have to be careful of what I say on TV when I break down scenarios that the uneducated people in our country to understand that. Are you telling me I am now suspended from doing that? And on top of that now, you're telling me police officers who actually do bandit work now, example, Shoguna's police station, they can come on my building and search my computer, take up my phone, which is a personal thing, and go with it? This, you know what it warrant? It warrant clarity in the public domain. This is what it warrant. Let me tell you something trying to be. I ain't no stupidity, you know. I ain't no man side the road, you know. I didn't pick in power to serve Trinidad and Tobago, you know. I ain't have access to the treasury, you know. But you see, come in to standing up for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I have been doing it for 9 years. PNM come and PNM gone. UNC, Trinidad and Tobago voted for UNC. UNC here, there now. So the citizens now are wondering if they made the right choice. So you saying public opinion and safety. What does safety mean? What does the public opinion means? Because it is the public that voted the UNC. They didn't just happen and decide, you know what, we're in parliament. No, they were voted in by the people. Because the people found it fit to vote out the PNM. And they wanted a change. So they voted the UNC into power. The PNM people, the UNC people, the NAR people, the whatever party in Trinidad and Tobago, they came together, the citizens. And on the 20th of April 2025, we decided, you know what? We are going to change party. We are going to put a new party. We want our country fixed. But this morning, I got up, listening to the Attorney General now, and you know what? I hear gangs again. I hear gangs again. Because of intel, they used that on the last SOE. And I believe the PNM did use that too also. And they talk about crime and crime and crime and crime and crime and gang violence. But 2010 to 2015, there were gangs existing. From 2015 to 2025, gangs existing. In 2026, UNC, Governor trying to bring it out, and the gangs still existing. Call her good night. Hello?
Yes, hi, good night.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I didn't. I may have a channel 3 on my. Anyhow, hear this, right? I want to ask you a question. Was it deemed by the court that Brent Thomas issue was unlawful and he was kidnapped? Was it deemed by the court that he was kidnapped? And if so, why is the officer that involved in the situation still working? Why did not suspend it? And this brings me to my other point, right? You had drugs missing in Shogona Station. You had drugs missing in Bayakor Station. And these are the people you put into running to my place without a warrant, without any probable cause. I just asked you a question and you bring a valid point and you have a financial institution. So if them run up in your computer now, them can see how much money anybody banking with you then.
Hey, watch me. Call her. I just always tell people, my business is financing. And I will say this without apologizing. You see, my two financial building, a police car just running here without a warrant, you know. It doesn't matter what SOE it have in Trinidad, you know. Take
right,
what's telling all you. Now, for the last 9 years, hold on, for the last 9 years, the world have known Saieed Ali doing spiritual work to make my money, to start my company. I don't have a skeleton in the closet. I'm born to do spirit work. When I started my program on TV, I told people how I make my money. Because everybody would say, oh, he in this, he in that, he in the next. Let me drop a next example. If I deal with 10 people for the month that pays 10,000 or 20,000 to do spiritual work, 10 people, it's 100,000. 20 people at 10,000 is 200,000. And I'm a licensed money lender. 10 years. Shoguna's police will tell you. The courthouse will tell you. Saieed, let's do his renewal. I already do my renewal for 2020. So they can't come around with no nonsense.
Right, now this brings me to my point. How it is you can have corrupt people working in the service, in the station, and them is the people you put in out there to search people's vehicles, to search people's houses, and let me tell you something. I get talk on the ground that it have police and show going planting thing on people in the vehicle, in the property, all kind of thing, and arresting them. So what's stopping them from coming after normal people now? Right? That's my point. And before I go side, I want people to understand something because I was inquiring about this from somebody from the inside, right? Let me tell you something. That evidence room where the drugs gone missing, right? Do you know that that's the same evidence room is lodge a firearm or the legal firearm or having an FUL? If you stepping out of the country and you had to lodge your firearm in a station, go in the same room? It's another room? So if it is you going away and you lodge your firearm there, what's stopping somebody who's corrupt, a rogue officer, from taking your gun and renting it out to somebody? What's stopping them from doing that?
I understand.
You understand what I'm telling you, right? Any side, you enjoy it?
Thank you, my friend. So Trinidad and Tobago, they talk about the opinions that would cause public opinions and safety. So what about the people's public opinion and safety? About the officers, alleged officers, who commit the act inside the Shogona station, that power was given to them to enter into people's building without warrant. What about the public opinion and safety about that? Like I said, can the Attorney General John Jeremy Can Roger Alexander, the Minister of Homeland Security, can Wayne Sturge, what's his ministry again? What's Wayne Sturge ministry again? What's Wayne Sturge ministry again? Can Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, can the President who authorized this declaration, could they, together with the Law Association, explain it to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? So Wayne Sturge is the Minister of Defense. Could all these people come together and explain this? Because you all suspend the protest. You all suspend a peaceful protest. You all may want to take people's personal device that has private information. So I am asking questions. You see, I'll tell you something. No other media house wouldn't highlight it like me. Because you know why? I started from the ground up. From the ground up. I have friends in very, very high places. So what I am asking is to clarify what I just showed to the citizens so that they would understand. It's a freedom of speech. You cannot take away that from a human being. This is not a dictator country. People may try to make it. But it is sad if this is what is transpiring in the public domain. This is sad. You can't tell me about gangs and then you want to tell me outside because of your show now, I had to put things in a way that would cause the public safety. I educate in the public. I is not a criminal. I is not a gang leader. I is not a gang member. I am the president of Real Talk Credit Union. I am the director of Real Talk Financing. What is my occupation? The list is very long. The list is very long. But I have no skeleton in the closet. I do spiritual work to make money. That is what I do. For the last 18 years, I was born. So you want to tell me because of my gift now to make money, you want to, boy, you ought to be careful. Be careful. Because Terence Yalsing one time went up and said, oh, the man on Synergy TV, blah, 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 in him out. Terence nearly did an accident. Because I don't take nonsense. Don't play all the comment to zip my mouth because I educate the public about the truth. I don't have to lie to get into power. I don't have to lie to get into the treasury. I don't have to lie. I have no reason to lie for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I was born with power. Nobody don't have to vote me to be in power. Go back up on that television one more time. Article. So Trinidad and Tobago, for clarity's sake of this article, with the government lawyers, or the lawyers at Trinidad and Tobago, clarify this for the public, because I will tell you something. This, when the SOE done, may have a lot of suing. A lot of suing. The sad thing about it is that the government ministers don't have to pay if the government gets sued. Taxpayers' money had to pay. It's the sad part about it. So callers, viewers, we are out of time for tonight, but nevertheless, I will run this program tomorrow from 11 to 12:30 p.m. We'll be right back here another night for another Real Talk with Saieed to educate you again. Until then, good night.